So I'll turn it back over to Bill for a few minutes. And again, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. I also want to really acknowledge, everybody take a look at these other officers around the room. As the captain said, they do God's work. They do countless amount. I feel like Phil Donahue. I'm going to walk this amongst you. They do countless, thankless jobs from no big to small. I want to point out, I want to recognize Billy McGee. I think we should all give him a big hand. He's a retired fireman, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he's the epitome, in my opinion, of what City Islanders do in a positive manner. We had a meeting last week with the Con Ed machine. Everybody knows the new lunar landing we have called the Con Ed spacecraft on City Island Avenue. Well, Bill, under his own initiative, as a City Island citizen, went to the firehouse, had a discussion with the fire captain, and is working to keep us all safe. He doesn't live anywhere near the lunar landing, but he knows the kids that go to the school, he knows the people that live around there, and that's what community is all about. And I want to thank him for that. And there are many other, City Island citizens. I'm going to walk over, Phil Donahue style, to a gentleman who does great things for the city, great things for City Island, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and we're gonna talk to the captain. We're gonna look to set up a meeting. As we know, we had a shooting on City Island, and this is paramount to our community because this is where we live. This is where our parents and grandparents go shopping. This is where the Little League pulls up with their van to put gasoline in the car. And God forbid one of us were in that gas station when those shots were flying. And, the cops work hard. And I'm going to recognize someone else. Before I get to Skip, I'm just going to recognize Dennis Fitzpatrick, Dino from Seafood City. And they have been helping. Correct me if I'm not wrong, you have been working closely with the NYPD, and this is where Skip and I, we get on the phone, and Skip's passionate, and I'm passionate, and Louise is the referee sometimes, and we'll be yelling at each other. But what we want to do is an initiative, it was broached in the previous meeting, where we are going to ask every business and every homeowner that has a camera that if you could tilt it 15, 20 degrees into a public area, you would be amazed what a force multiplier that will be for this island in keeping us safe. We are unique in many, many ways, and one of those ways is one way on, one way off. And I'm going to get Teddy Pryor, you're not getting off the hook, who represents Mark Jonai. Mark Jonai promised us that August camera, which traps it. So I'm just going to give the microphone over to Skip a little bit and tell him what we're working on with other agencies and associations. Big hand for Skip.
Thank you. Captain, welcome, thank you. More than anything else, in the 20-some odd years I've been on City Island, Louise and I, nothing has affected us as much as this shooting just a couple of weeks ago. It just, suddenly, it came to life how vulnerable we are. Now, we've got a pretty good record. This is a very safe place. It's paradise. But 2 or 3 years ago, there was a similar shooting in the beginning of the island. Apparently, one car pulled up next to another and bang. A few years before that, there was a shooting at Tony's. Thank God no one was hurt there. So that's 3 shootings in 6 years. That's too much for me. That's too much. And what I'm asking the captain to do is sit down with us to come up with a plan that includes the cameras, maybe some auxiliary police, hopefully additional coverage from the 45th, some kind of a communication system between all the restaurants up and down City Island Avenue. So if something happens, everybody gets to know it right away and people will respond. The Chamber and the Civic are working hard on this with the 45th, and we're hoping something great comes out of it. Thank you.
All right, trying to ignore. The crime, the drugs on City Island, It's great that the captain comes from narcotics. I think we've done a great job in tampering it down. But as long as we have one drug sale on City Island, that's one drug sale too many. So as the captain said, as you see the officers around you, feel free if you have any information, drug sales. You don't need to be the undercover narc. You can either go to the cops officially or unofficially, or you can come to me, as many of you folks have. And we've shut down a lot of places. We shut down the place across the street from the gas station when they were selling drugs. You know, we shut down the drug deals at the Laurels. And you know what? We help the cops help us, and I want to continue that. So do I have any questions about safety and security, about crime, or about this thing that we're looking at, about, you know, cameras are really cheap today, and the restaurants, you know, the ones that took that meeting were enthusiastically on board. So we're going to look to sit with the captain and try to coordinate that. So again, we could force multiply that effort. So any crime, and what it does, it helps track where the perps were, what they look like, description, where they originated from, and what happened. So do I have any questions, safety and security? Yes, ma'am.
Is there,
Bill, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Is this directed to the police department?
yes,
I'd rather we talk in private
Okay.
about safety concerns, if you don't mind, because if this is being aired, then anything.
Yeah,
safety
no,
future-wise,
you're right.
I'll speak to you.
You know, we do have to, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, again, to reiterate why, we are not anti-people taping, but we have many instances with a specific individual weaponizing the taping and using it against people, their stand, if they say something about a crime. And it's, you know, I don't know why, it doesn't have to be this way, folks, and I apologize. So just bear with us. All right, so I'm going to move on from safety and security. I'm going to pass the baton over to Barbara.
There's not a lot. I do want to say that the Department of Environmental Protection is planning to install a new water main, starting sometime in the spring. They said that they would come with the Department of Design and Construction, the DDC. They will be coming here, hopefully in the March meeting, maybe not till the April meeting, to discuss the project, which is going to go on until 2021, and it's going to disrupt traffic on City Island Avenue at some point, but we don't have any specifics on that. But just get ready for this. The water mains that are now on the bridge will be in place and used until the new project is completed. For people who are interested in the building at 414 City Island Avenue, where they had applied for a permit to renovate an existing restaurant and drinking establishment, which never was there. They have gotten a permit from the Buildings Department to go ahead on the basis of the fact that the certificate of occupancy that was filed in 1967 was still valid, because it was less than 2 years ago that the outboard repair service left the building. So they are not going to build a restaurant, we are told. They are going to make it a sports bar. We don't have enough of them here, clearly. I think it will be less of a parking problem than a restaurant would be. So in any case, that's what's happening, so just keep aware. We don't have a name for the restaurant, and it is not yet applied, at least to the community board, for a liquor license. Let's see. Tom, did you want to talk about the town hall meeting? Was there anything interesting in that to talk about zoning? Yeah.
Nothing in particular, just like a lot of people know, that if you're building as of right, there's nothing you can do. There are certain conditions where you're not building as of right. If they want a zoning change or a variance, then you go through the ULURP process, and they just explain, you know, how that works. And then the third way is going through the Board of Standards and Appeals, which this was what department was that again last night? The housing?
Well, it was Mark Joe and I had a town.
Land use. They said that they are not even involved in the any BSA applications or anything like that. But those are the three things. It's as of use, there's really not much you can do. If they need some kind of zoning variance, then it's the ULURP process, and the community boards The borough president, they weigh in, but only on an opinion basis. And then if it's the third option, the Bureau, Board of Standards and Appeals, the community has no say. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, okay, that's it for me. Kathy Seebeck, do you
Oh,
want to?
wait, one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware of it, the thing that's going on over on Blondell Avenue. They want to build the Blondell Commons, which is affordable housing for, I think it was 230 units. And the councilman said, because we on Community Board 10, we voted no. The building itself is really in Community Board 11. They voted no, but it's probably going to go through, and what the councilman said is if they don't do the affordable housing, they'll probably end up with a homeless shelter, and that, for some reason, is easy to get approval for, and you'd end up with a 500-bed homeless shelter. So that's the only other thing you mentioned.
Okay. Kathy, who is our municipal services coordinator.
You want the
You want
microphone?
this? Yeah.
Do you consent to being audio taped?
No.
It's a one-party consent state. Get over it.
it's not.
Yes, it is.
This is a private
It is if you're
meeting.
included in the
Will not
conversation
be
and you're not. But anyhow, I'll move forward because we'll ignore that.
wrong
Our committee met. I just started a committee and we, one person was on. Oh, the committee municipal services. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Dee Dee's on it, Terry, myself, Helen Anderson, I don't know where,
She's here.
Kathy Sweat, and Fred Ramfo. We met, we only met once, it just started a few weeks ago, and we were working on the DEP and DOT with the sewers, especially by Artie's. There's a huge hole there, and, someone could get injured. So we wrote to DOT, DEP, talked to the community board manager. I also spoke to the community board manager regarding the property next to the bridge. Since the DOT uses that property and they also used it for construction, why should the community clean that area? They should. And he said he's establishing a schedule for them to clean up the area. And I know I spoke to Barbara about it, and she wanted something with the rocks. We'll work on that. But if anyone has any concerns, not 311 and our neighbors and friends, anything about roads, lights, or any kind of service like that, contact the Civic. You can do it yourself. The more that we do it and put it in, it's the better for our community, the more voices heard. It's up to us, not just the people on the Civic. And that's about it for this month. Thank you very much.
Who's up next?
Fred, do you have?
Fundraising?
No, anything?
The only fundraising thing is those who haven't paid your dues yet, pay your dues.
All right, so now we have some
New project.
representatives of old business, new business.
This new business, well, I've got a new business.
New business,
Yeah.
back to Barbara.
I just want to mention our oyster project briefly. The front page of the Island Current, which is out today, has a long article about the history of oystering on City Island. East Chester Bay, as many of you know, was once very rich in oysters, and City Island was very famous for being in the oyster business. Before there was a bridge here, there was no way to get your goods to market, except really by boat, and so oystering was the perfect occupation, and there were probably 60 or 70 families on City Island that were the equivalent of millionaires because of this business was so rich. It had been started because a man named Orrin Fordham came from Connecticut in the 1930s, and he had developed a system of planting oysters, which enriched the local oyster population to the point where storm surges were not an issue. The water was incredibly clean, and oysters satisfied hungry oyster eaters all over New York City and, in fact, the world. Since several sewage overflows and other issues, pollution from the Hutchinson River and other areas have made the water pretty bad. The oysters have disappeared, the mussels have gone, most of the clams are gone. So what we on the City Island Drift, which it grew out of last year's via Community Day, we've decided to make City Island an oyster capital again, not for eating oysters, but really to clean the water. One oyster can clean 50 gallons of water a day. The Billion Oyster Project is in New York Harbor. They've been at work since 2015. They've planted oysters in various and sundry different places, and they find that the water is clean. The other thing that happens is storm surges become less violent because the oysters absorb the water, so that when people get flooded during storms, this would be less likely to happen with a lot of oysters growing around City Island. So what we're doing, starting with via Community Day, which this year is going to be on May 12th, 10th, sorry, change your calendars, a Friday. We are going to start collecting oysters from restaurants on City Island, and we are having to cure them, which is a process that we're discussing with Paul Mankiewicz. Shells, sorry. Yeah, right. Paul Mankiewicz and with Mike Carew, who's Captain Mike's Diving. And these are experts, along with the Billion Oyster people, who are helping us with this. And we're going to develop a system of planting them at various locations, probably in Eastchester Bay, perhaps even on the east side of the island. So it's kind of exciting. We look forward to having clean water. Right now, our water is not clean enough, according to the Department of Environmental Conservation. Both of our elected state officials have offered to work with us, and DEC, to help us get this project underway, and we're looking for volunteers from all over the island. So any of you who are interested in marine biology or in the environment, please get in touch with us. Read the paper, see a little bit more detail about what you can do and how it can be done. But I hope you all want to support the project in any case, because it's kind of exciting to make City Island an oyster capital again.
This is a great initiative, and we're gonna be working with the drift. We have some possible plans, hopefully some good news to share. Any other old business? Was that
Well,
old business?
there was that one group, One NYC. Every 4 years, the mayor's office in the city sponsors this strategic plan, is really what it is, for things that they want to get done during the following 4 years. And I have some information on it. They were going to come tonight, and then we thought the evening was going on too long, so I'll make this very short. But in any case, this is something where they were trying to get information from people all over the Bronx and in the other boroughs. They are going to come up with a strategic plan, which they will announce in May. If anybody is interested in finding out more about it, there is a very good website, onenyc.org, or you can come and see me. I've got some material here in case you're interested in this plan, which is really to improve life in New York City on many, many different levels.
All right, any
Old business?
new business, any new questions, anything anybody has? Before we turn it over, some of our representatives are here.
Are we asking the captain any questions?
Oh, yes, perfectly situated. Any questions for the captain? Oh, the person that asked. Yes, Kathy.
First, I want to tell the captain, 2 of your officers, I just want to commend them. All they left, Jessica and Williamson, a friend of mine, her husband passed away, and Officer Williamson was there. He was very compassionate, excellent, and really gave comfort to my friend in a time that she needed to help her to figure out what to do. So I just wanted to tell you about that.
Thank you.
But the question is traffic in the summer. I had mentioned it earlier. We have barriers by the circle now. And we just want to have a plan in place for traffic control, not traffic. We know we'll have traffic, for the control. And it seems to work when we have a police officer at the yield sign into the circle from Turtle Cove. And when we use that plan, it's excellent and it works. But then the next week, somehow the plan changes and then it gets messed up. And the second part of my question is, we were thinking about, a few of us, and one of my friends is here, is a police officer, or former police officer, a substation maybe on City Island in the summer, because we know Orchard Beach has a detail. Maybe we could have 2 offices, because like we're one of the only summer destination that doesn't have a constant police, presence that way. Thank you.
All right, thank you for all the questions. to your first question, you're referring to the weekends in the summertime with the traffic flow? We're working on a plan. We feel confident that the last year's summer traffic plan went smoother than previous years.